What's up, guys? This is Jamel from Team Agani Brigade. I'm here to give you guys a deck profile of Kaizerion. I know quite a few people have asked me what my personal list was. I'm sorry for taking so long to actually respond and give you guys a profile that I told you all I would do. But being an adult, have other things to do. But anywho, without any further ado, let's get this profile started. This deck is indeed in max rarity because a certain friend of mine told me that low rarity is a sin. This is my buddy, Greatsword Deity Kaizerion. So, I'm trying to live sin free. But anywho, let's get this profile started. So, first, we play 4 copies of Greatsword Deity Kaizerion. He's an 8/3/5, and he's my primary ride most games. He basically, when he's 2 gauge to call, 2 gauge to ride, and whenever he enters the field, you may choose 1 Brave machine from your drop zone and add it to his soul. And if he has 3 cards of soul, he gains an additional crit, so it becomes an 8/4/5. Really sturdy. It has Soul Guard. Thank you, Bushi Road. It's a really, really good card. It's usually what I want to be on most games at some point. Next, I played 2 copies of Evil Sword Deity Dark Kaizerion. 8/2/5, and he has a counteract skill. During your turn, once per turn, I may remove a soul from anything on the field, whether my side or my opponent's side of the field, and if I do, I get to stand. His call cost is 2 gauge. His ride cost is put the top card of your deck into a soul and pay 2 gauge. Now, the reason why I only played 2 is because I felt like I'm going to run into decks that did use soul, but it wasn't going to be that many because there are still certain meta decks that really don't use soul at all, like Thunder Emperor Fang, for example. So I didn't really feel the need to play more. And if I really need to see it for that matchup, well, I have Call Super Machine, so I can search it. So for the matches where it mattered, where like my final match in Atlanta, I played against Fleet. It was perfect. So anyways, next card. I love this card, by the way. Super Sword Deity King Kaizerion. He's a 10/4/7. His call cost is pay 2 gauge, put it on top of a Brave machine, and his ride cost is pay 2 gauge, put on top of a ride. His stats, sick. His abilities are great too. When he's got 3 cards of soul, he can't be nullified when attacking alone, which is scary. And when he can't be rested by effects either. So no barbed wire, no Draco Desperates, no skill binders, none of those work on him. And then his second effect is that his soul can't be removed via effects, which makes him a little bit more sturdier, and I love it because remove and just simple soul removal, that's pretty much running staple in most decks nowadays. Used to wreck Kais, but when I'm on King Kais, it's a little bit safer. He can still be destroyed, he can still be returned to hand, but usually it takes a little bit to get him off the field. Next, I played 2 of the Martian Handsome Superhero Takasuke, and yes, these are the ERs. This is a 4/2/3, 2 gauge to call, 2 gauge to ride. It's a superhero, so I can't search it, but it does have ride, so it doesn't really interfere with the rest of the mechanic of the deck. So it's still good. It has a really good ability, Handsome Martian Beam. I pay 1 gauge whether I'm in the monster or item slot. I declare a monster or spell. My opponent reveals their hand. If there's 1 of said type in their hand, I gain a life. If there's 2 or more, I draw a card. So the reason why I play it is for the resource management. Its double attack that it naturally has is equally as good. So it's definitely proven to be useful, and it's helped me out in a lot of games. I tested it in Area when it first came out, and I've been a fan ever since. Coup, Stunbat are also other decent alternatives. I'm not a big fan of both of them for various reasons, but I feel like since this card has ride and it can also give me resources, I really like it. Next, I played 1 copy of Tenacious Omnilord Nega Balls. He's a 6/1/3, pay 1 gauge to call. His ability is what really like why I had to tech him in the deck. Whenever my opponent's monster or item is destroyed, I take the crit and make my opponent mill that many cards, and then they get burned for that amount, which is really, really stupid. What I've noticed nowadays, what a lot of people are doing with their decks is they have a lot of monsters whose crit is bigger than their size, or might be even equal to, especially when it's size 2 and greater. Size 1s, most of them are playing like 2 crit size 1s, so getting a quick 2 damage off of popping a little small 1 doesn't hurt. It also has double attack, so that also was a little bit more inviting. A lot of people, when they saw that card in my deck, they were like, well, why not just play the other one? I could. But most people only played it for one matchup, and that was Chaos. This card, however, I feel is not only good in Chaos, but it's good against a lot of other matchups if you just so happen to draw into it and just go offensive. So, for that reason is why I teched it in. Next, I played 3 copies of Metal Dragon or Gear Drake. 5/2/5, you put a card from the drop zone into a soul. You put a card from drop zone to a soul and pay a gauge. If there's at least one card in a soul, my item cannot be destroyed by effects, and it gets a crit. It also has move and soul guard. So really, really good auxiliary card. Makes my items harder to remove from the field. The fact that it has move and soul guard too also helps because it's good defensively when I really need it in a pinch. These cards over here, these are Kaizerion pieces. This is the newest edition. Beast Deity Alphasian. He's free to call, but he has like a whole lot of red. So like what does all that mean? So I'll tell you what a skill is. So counter. If you have a ride, you can put that card from the field into a soul. If you do put it into a soul, you may pay a gauge. And if you do pay a gauge, you can take a Kaizerion, a card with Kaizerion in its name, from your hand and ride it on top of your ride for free. Offensively and defensively, that gives you so many good applications. Offensively, it basically turns the deck into ride changers, where you're switching out your item to get more attacks. Defensively, it's good if you need to change numbers or just even sport the second effect, which is if it's in the soul of a ride, it gives you ride counterattack. Really, really good card. Then I played 2 of the Tiger Thrust. That it just gives my ride penetrate when it's in the soul. Sideboard. It's a 3/1/1 size 0. If it's in the soul of a ride, pay a gauge when I'm at 6 or less life to give my ride double attack. That's it for monsters. Onward to spells. First, this is called Super Machine. This is the reprint. Thank you, Pushy Road. I love you for this. Basically, you pay a gauge to search your deck for any Brave Machine, whether monster, spell, impact, and add it to hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. Really, really good card. Next, I played 4 Hyper Energies. You do go through gauge a lot, so I felt like this was definitely needed for the deck. When you cast it, you gauge 4 once per turn. I played 4 I've seen through your moves. Basically, this is just an open center nullifier. The reason why I play these, sometimes I do want to protect monsters too, and the other shields just don't give me that protection at all. The only times I really use it is like if I want to keep a Gear Drake on the field. Sometimes Negavols, depending on how much pressure they decide to actually put on him, because he does become a prime target after they know what this effect does. So there you go. I played 3 100,000 years too early. Thank you, community, for getting these parallel foils for me, because these were a pain in the ass. Basically, you can only use it when you're attacked. You nullify the attack, and then you your item for the rest of the turn gets 1k defense. So what I like about it is basically it makes your item even harder to hit. It makes you harder to hit. So your Kaizerion, if you cast it one time, becomes a 6k defense. And these are stackable, so if you have another one, you buff its defense again. And that's what makes the card really, really good. It's become a staple in so many Hero World decks, and Kaizerion, being as defensive as it can be, welcomes it wholeheartedly. Next, I play 2 Power Body. So this card, I used it mainly against Purgatory Knights. That was really the matchup I was fearing. Anything else with burn, anything else with burn in it, it's just good to kind of have that to kind of get out of that predicament. So I pay a gauge or a life, But if I'm at 6 or less life, I don't pay the cost. And I used it for the second effect, where I can counter. The next time I would take damage, it would be reduced to 0. Then next I play 2. I leave the rest to use. Basically, it's just counter destruction. I've always been a fan of counter destruction, just to kind of keep my opponent's field in check whenever I can. I pay a life, and I put my ride that's currently on the field to the drop zone to counter speed, destroy a card on my opponent's field. So this can target any card. Really, really good. Next, I play 3. Prepped and okay to launch. I usually change my ride target at least 2 to 3 times. Well, between 1 to 3 times a game. It is really, really good now because beforehand, Kaizerion didn't really change his ride. It was static. Basically, once you rode a Kaiz, that was kind of it. But now that you change your ride targets, it's become a lot more useful. And now it's a staple draw spell until we get something better. So basically, it's a set spell. When you ride, the next time you ride, you draw 2, and you put that card from the field to the drop zone. For the rest of the turn, you can't set another one of these. And you can only set one on the field at a time. So the next time you plan on changing your ride, you set another one, and now you're drawing 2 from it. So next, I play 2 Super Headquarters Brave Fort. Now, this card was basically here for 2 matchups. 1, Purgatory Knights. 2, definitely Thunder Emperor Fang. And this, a lot of other people have been playing Brave Machine Hanger. For those who've heard me numerous times, I do not like it in this deck at all. I just do not think that is worth it. I like gradual gauge gain because I usually, for the most part, I usually have enough gauge for everything I do. It's helpful to put things in soul, but this is basically all I ever really want to have in my soul at all. So, and because this is 51 cards, it's just too low of a chance that I'm not going to get the ideal cards in there. And then it's probably, I'm more often than not going to have stuff that I want in hand. But now they're engaged or soul, so, But anyways, it's another set spell that when a Brave Machine enters the field, or if you ride, you get a gauge. You get that once per turn. The second effect, and this is why I really needed this against Thunder Emperor Fang, is that if my life will become 0, I destroy my ride, destroy this card to gain a life, and I'm still in the game. So a lot of people are playing the 20 damage impact because, 20 damage is scary. And it can't be reduced, but you can still revive from it. So things like Burn Nova, Recovery, things like that, still keep you in the game. So I didn't want to just rely on 1 Burn Nova because I can only play 1 in the deck. I could play more than 1 Brave Fort. So, and even at 2, I saw it fairly often. I saw it in most games where it mattered. But that's kind of my way out against that. So, and then for impacts, I play 4. I play 2 of each. I play 2 Jackknife Kaizerion. He size 2, 825, really good stats, move a soul guard. His call cost is put him on top of a monster on the field and pay 2 gauge. If there's a Brave Machine or Neo Dragon in his soul when it enters the field, you restand your item, it can attack during final phase, and it gets an additional crit. So this is basically just a attack extender. You get at least 2 more attacks. If you have a Dark Kaizerion on the field that has its effect used, you get 3 more attacks during final phase, which is really scary for the opponent. It's just more beatdown, which is always welcome. And then next, I play 2 copies of Brave Energy Full Drive because Impact Cheese is still Impact Cheese. You may only cast this if you're a ride and your opponent has 5 or less life. You pay 2 gauge, deal 2 to your opponent right out the gate, and then you deal a damage for every card in your soul of your ride. None of that damage can be reduced. So, if you have the opportunity to just cheese them for game, cheese them for game. I love it. It's won me so many games in the past. It's won so many games for me even recently. It's just a really good card. So, next I'll go over my sideboard, what I used in Atlanta at Atlanta Regionals. I didn't have Skill Binder, So, and it literally just came out that weekend, that Friday. I just can't get my hands on these afterwards. I do have some now, so my size have changed since then. Also, if you guys have full scale binders, holler at me. I'm looking for them. First things first, I played 3 energy absorption machineries. I got a lot of mileage off of this. I basically use this to work alongside Dark Kaizerion. But basically, for those who don't know, you pay a gauge, and you put a card from your opponent's gauge and a soul from a card in your opponent's field to the drop zone, and you gain 2 life. So instead of me just playing more Dark Kaizerion, I'd rather also still remove soul, but now I'm removing other resources and gaining life while I do it. So I figured that would be a little bit more useful if I really needed to go that hard to get soul decks, instead of just leaving it only to Kaizerion. Next, this card probably got more mileage than any side card I've used all tournament, and it's 3 copies of Long Range Cannon. It has been a staple for a long time. It's still really, really good. It's even better now. But basically, whenever you're in ride, you can pay a gauge, and for this turn, whatever you're in ride on has Shadow Dive. So why is this scary? Your Kaizerions can all go past your opponent's center. Alphation here, whenever it lets you ride another Kaizerion during battle phase, it also gets this effect. It can also Shadow Dive. If you restand with a Jackknife Kaizerion, the item still has Shadow Dive. That's gross. I've ended games just for casting one and doing both scenarios at the same time for that turn. I played 1 more. I leave the rest to you just for soul removal. I mean, not soul removal, just for more counter pop, just to destroy things that are really annoying. And then this last one, a little weird of a choice, but it made sense in my head, and I can explain why I chose it. But I played 3 Ocean Deity /Shark inside, and it's a 1/1/3 size 0. It's an old card from Shadow vs. Hero. And basically, if it's in the Soul of a Ride, you get +1/+1. So why did I play this card? This replaced New Plasma Mine right before rounds. And the reason why it replaced New Plasma Mine is because, honestly, if you look at the way the game is going right now, Call Nullifiers currently are just kind of dead. Like, look at all the crazy decks that you want to nullify size 2 or less. They all have some quick recovery, or they have some superior call mechanic that gets it right back. And now you're back in the same scenario, except you're down 2 gauge. Like, for example, think of it like this. Look at Purgatory Knights, right? Purgatory Knights, you don't want to see Demios. That's who you immediately would use it for. Well, they have Purgatory Knights forever. So for a gauge and a damage, they get it right back in hand. And now, they call it right back on the field for a gauge. Now you got to deal with it again. Bots, they have Thunder X Attract. I think in the name of Thunder Empire helps them too. I can't remember what that card does, but in the name of Thunder, definitely Thunder X Attract gets it right back from drop zone. You have Jackknife, who can superior call Jackknifes better than it could before. Which if it's superior called, you can't use it. Stars, the Astraius, they use Starfall Knight, or they use Capricornio, and he gets it right back. So it's just not that good of a card, in my opinion, for what's currently being played, especially in America. The only matchup where I really feel like, yes, you gotta have New Plasma Mine is against Menjo Loop. Because that's literally the only way, there's only 1 of 2 ways you can break the loop. So if you do that, then, if you expect to see Menjo loops, then yeah, play New Plasma Mine. But if you don't expect to see Menjo loops being played in the tournament, and you don't expect to run into them, I wouldn't really worry about siding them too much, because it just doesn't do anything for you. If people want to discuss this with me further, if you disagree with me, by all means, you are entitled to do that. And we can have a discussion about it. I have no problem talking this out with people. But from experience, every single person who I've ever used New Plasma against, more games than not, they recovered what I just got rid of. And now I'm back in the same scenario. Minus that card and minus 2 gauge. So I felt like it was just a waste of time. So, maybe in the future I might think differently about it. But right now, I just didn't feel like it was needed. So why Slash Shark? You're probably wondering. Slash Shark was really there for 2 matchups. And these are the 2 that I was afraid of. And I ran into both of them. Purgatory Knights, Thunder Emperor Fang. Now, Purgatory Knights, the main reason why I wanted in this is because if I have 1 or 2 of these in Soul, or 1 of these and 100,000 years too early, I'm forcing more link attacks because Demios hits perfect numbers. I might not have the opportunity or the time to go into King Kaizerion, but with regular Kaizerion, it's not so hopeless either for me because if I buff my defense up 1 or 2k, they have to use their sword. And if they use their sword, I still make them force link attack with everything else, which is perfectly fine. Because now I'm consolidating their attacks, which means now I'm consolidating attacks, which means I guard less attacks, which improves my chances of survival. Thunder Emperor Fang, the same theory applies. It's not for bots, because bots hits too fucking high. But it's for everything else. The weapon, the size 1, maybe the 0 that's on the field too. These things I want to consolidate those attacks so that I'm increasing my chances of surviving the turn. So that I need less shields for the whole attack phase, So that was basically why I chose Slash Shark. My sideboard has changed since then. And as the game evolves and more things come out, my sideboard and main board will definitely change. But right now, this is what it currently is. I'm waiting until at least we get Rainbow Striker to see if I'm going to make any changes. But sorry for dragging a little bit longer than normal. But this is my deck profile. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.